इग्नू स्टूडेंट्स, एग्जाम पास आ रहे हैं तो सिर्फ बुक्स शेयर करने से कुछ नहीं होगा। उसके लिए आपको चाहिए इग्नू के सॉल्व पेपर, और वो आपको सिर्फ मिलेंगे उन्नति एजुकेशंस पर। तो आज मैं आपको दिखाने वाली हूँ एक्सक्लूसिवली जून 2025 का ईजीसी 132 का पेपर विद सॉल्यूशन। तो इस वीडियो को एंड तक जरूर देखना और बिल्कुल स्किप मत करना। तो चलिए, आप अपनी स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हैं स्टूडेंट्स, ये आपका बीईजीसी का जून 2025 का क्वेश्चन पेपर है। सिलेक्शन फ्रॉम इंडियन राइटिंग कल्चर एंड डाइवर्सिटी। 3 आवर्स का आपका पेपर है और 100 मार्क्स का ये आता है। इंस्ट्रक्शन के अंदर मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट कि आपको 5 क्वेश्चंस आंसर करने हैं, एंड क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 जो है वो आपका कंपल्सरी क्वेश्चन है जो आपको अटेम्प्ट करना ही करना है। चलिए, फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन के टुवर्ड्स बढ़ते हैं हम। एक्सप्लेन विद रेफरेंस टू द कॉन्टेक्स्ट एनी 4 ऑफ द फॉलोइंग। आपको 5-6 ऑप्शंस दिए हुए हैं, आपको कोई 4 ही उसमें से सॉल्व करने हैं। मैं आपको यहाँ पे सबके सॉल्यूशंस दिखाऊंगी। फर्स्ट ए पार्ट पर आते हैं। ए जो आपको कॉन्टेक्स्ट दिया हुआ है, आई हैव कलर्ड माई सेल्फ इन द कलर ऑफ द डार्क ह्यूड वन, adoring myself and putting ghungroos on my feet, I gave up all the worldly rules and danced। चलिए, इसका सॉल्यूशन देखते हैं स्टूडेंट। सो ये जो एक्सट्रैक्ट है स्टूडेंट, ये लिया गया है आपका यूनिट द मैड लवर बाय सिरसिर कुमार दास की पोएम से। This poem belongs to the Bhakti movement, a period of intense emotional and spiritual devotion to God, and these lines reflect the mystic union between the devotee and the divine, where the self merged with the beloved Lord and symbolized by the dark hued ones, Lord Krishna, and it celebrates the ecstatic joy of divine love beyond the worldly norms। Explanation पर आते हैं स्टूडेंट। First is speaker as a devotee. So the poet speak as a devotee, expressing complete surrender to God, casting away worldly restrictions and the social cords. Second, symbol of color. Colored myself in the color of a dark hued one symbolizes absorption of the self in the divine love, losing personal identity. Third is dance versus worship. Dance is a worship. The act of dancing with ghungru represents spiritual ecstasy and devotion, an offering of body and soul to the divine. Fourth, rejection of worldly rules. The devotee rejects material relief and rituals, showing that true devotion lies in spontaneous love, not a formal religion. Fifth, image of the dark humans refers to Krishna, embodiment of divine beauty and love, whose embracement leads to spiritual liberation. And sixth, emotional intensity. The tone is passionate and personal, showing the madness of divine love, typical of bhakti saints like Meera Bai. Critical insight. Sirsir Kumar Das highlight that in bhakti poetry, madness becomes scared as devotee like Meera Bai or Chaitanya lose themselves in a God's love and blurring the line between the human and divine passion. At last, conclusion. So, these lines illustrate the essence of bhakti philosophy, pure, emotional, and personal devotion to God, and the dancers ecstasy reflect liberation from worldly ties and complete absorption in divine bliss। चलिए, अब इसका सेकंड पार्ट देखते हैं स्टूडेंट। बी पार्ट में आपको क्या दिया हुआ है। सो माई लॉर्ड वाइट एज जैस्मिन इज माई हस्बैंड, टेक दीज हस्बैंड्स हु डाई डिके एंड फीड देम टू योर किचन फायर्स। चलिए, इसके सॉल्यूशन पर आते हैं स्टूडेंट्स। तो ये जो आपकी इंट्रोडक्टरी लाइंस थी, ये आपसे आपकी ली गई है यूनिट 4 बाल गान से, जिन्होंने लिखा है अक्का महादेवी एंड मीराबाई ऑफ अक्का महादेवी। So these lines are taken from your Unit 4 Bal Gan of Akka Mahadevi. Akka Mahadevi was a 12th century Kannada saint poet of Veer Shiva Bhakti movement, and her poetry expressed renunciation of worldly attachment and complete devotion to Lord Chinna Ali Karjuna Shiva। एक्सप्लेनेशन पर आते हैं स्टूडेंट। सो फर्स्ट इज अ वॉइस ऑफ अ डिवोटी। द पोएट स्पीक एज अ स्पिरिचुअल ब्राइड, renouncing mortal men of her eternal husband Lord Shiva. Second, symbol of purity. White as a jasmine symbolize divine purity and spiritual illumination. Third, rejection of a mortal love. Akka reject human husband who die and decay and representing temporary worldly bonds. Fourth, spiritual marriage. The divine union is beyond physical ties, symbolizing oneness, soul, and God. Fifth, rebellion against patriarchy. So she boldly questions the social norms that bind women to earthly duties. Sixth, bhakti intensity. Her poetry transformed devotion into passionate surrender to the divine beloved. And seventh, Veerashiva philosophy. It embodied spiritual independence, equality, and purity of heart as a true path to salvation. अब हम आते हैं इसके क्रिटिकल नोट पर. जो अक्का महादेवी वर्सेस रिवील फेमिनाइन मिस्टिज्म एंड रिवोल्ट एंड शी challenges social conventions while expressing transcendent love. Conclusion. These lines portray Akka Mahadevi's spiritual union with Shiva as her only eternal relationship, and her faith transformed worldly detachment into a divine fulfillment. चलिए अब हम आते हैं इसके सी पार्ट पर. Two magic eyes with 100 charms have put my sad heart rest to flight. Now who could care to go and tell dear love my sad and lonely plight. चलिए इसके सॉल्यूशन पर आते हैं हम. These lines also taken from the Unit 4 Balgan. The Bal singer of Bengal used the music to express the soul's yearning of divine love, and the poetry blend Sufi mysticism and Bhakti emotion, portraying love as a bridge between human and divine. The first explanation is the voice of the speaker. The speaker represents the human soul longing for God. Second, two magic eyes symbolize the alluring version of divine, drawing the devotee away from the worldly peace. Third, loss of rest. Spiritual love brings sweet suffering. The heart cannot find peace without union. Fourth, sad and lonely plight reflects separation, a central theme in a Bhakti and Sufi traditions. Fifth, messenger motive. The devotee wishes someone could carry the message of love to the divine beloved. Sixth, emotional simplicity. Use common images of the human love to express a mystical devotion. And seventh, fusion of tradition. Combine Hindu Bhakti and Muslim Sufi elements showing the India spiritual harmony. Critical note, Sirsir Kumardas emphasis that ball poetry use human imagery of divine love, showing as ecstasy and longing as paths to realization. Conclusion. The line depicts the soul's deep yearning for divine union, and the pain of separation become form of a worship and spiritual awakening. अब हम आते हैं स्टूडेंट इसके डी पार्ट पर. द शुगर केन मे बी क्रॉक बट इट्स जूस इज नॉट. Why are you deceived by the way things look? Choka may be ill-shaped but not his God Vitthal. Why are you deceived by the things look? चलिए इसका सॉल्यूशन देखते हैं हम. तो ये जो वर्स है, दिस वर्स अपीयर्स इन यूनिट 1 दलित वॉइसेस चौकामेला 14th century. Dalit saint from Maharashtra composed the devotional songs expressing the faith in Lord Vitthal and protest against the untouchability. Explanation. The first is the symbol of sugarcane. The crooked sugarcane represents the outer imperfections of human, and its sweet juice stand for a inner purity. Second is spiritual equality. Choka assert that God value devotion, not caste or appearance. Third, critique of discrimination. The poet condemns the caste-based social hierarchy. Fourth, personal faith. My God Vitthal reflect intimate personal devotion rather than a ritual worship. Fifth, Bhakti idol stresses inner spiritual sweetness over external form. Sixth, social protest serve as an early Dalit assertion against oppression and exclusion. Seventh, moral message urges society to look beyond physical and social differences. Critical note. Alice Elliot notes that Chocomela's verses merge faith and resistance, giving voice to the marginalized through poetry. Conclusion. The verse stand as a timeless reminder that spiritual word transcend caste. Chocomela devotion affirms the purity of heart over the body or birth. चलिए नेक्स्ट टू के टू वर्ड्स आते हैं, दैट इज ई. One you are used to it, even the sorrow that visit you, sometimes in dreams, melt away, embarrassed. चलिए इसका सॉल्यूशन देखते हैं हम. So, स्टूडेंट सॉल्यूशन देखेंगे. These lines are from the poem by the Indra Sent. Indra Sent was a noted Marathi poet whose works reflect the inner world of women, their silence, endurance, and resilience. The poem explores the human capacity to adopt to suffering. With time, sorrow loses its power and peace grows out of a acceptance. Explanation देखते हैं स्टूडेंट. First is voice of experience. The poet speak of a stage when pain no longer dominates life. It becomes familiar and almost friendly. Second, symbolism of dreams. Dreams represent unconsciousness memory of grief that occasionally revisit the mind. Third, transformation through time. With constant endurance, sorrow itself become embarrassed to return as the sufferer no longer react. Fourth, theme of acceptance. Indra Saint emphasizes emotional strength, and once we accept loss, it loses the power to hurt. Fifth, tone of a calm resignation. The poet's tone is serene and reflected, not bitter, and it reveals quiet spiritual maturity. Sixth, underlying feminine sensibility. Like many of her poems, it reflects the stoic patience of women who find inner peace in acceptance. Seventh, metaphor of melting. Sorrow melt away conveys forgiveness, detachment, and emotional healing. Eighth, human resilience. The poem celebrates the capacity to survive pain by turning it into a understanding. Critical note: Indra Sen poetry transforms suffering into self realization. Her calm acceptance of pain contrasts with rebellion, showing the dignity of endurance as a quiet strength. At last, conclusion. These lines capture the poet's belief that sorrow, once faced, accepted, loses its sting, and through patience and reflection, grief dissolves into tranquility and wisdom and revealing the inner power of the human spirit. चलिए स्टूडेंट, अब हम आते हैं इसके लास्ट पार्ट पर, दैट इज योर एफ पार्ट. यू नीड नो लॉन्गर रशा सुंदरी, नो पेपर और अ पेन either, no paper or pen either. You have the black smudgy kitchen wall for your magical scribbles, line, eclipse, curves, all of them your secret codes for a whole new world. चलिए इसका सॉल्यूशन देखते हैं हम. सो दिस एक्सट्रैक्ट इज फ्रॉम द यूनिट 2 लक्ष्मी कन्नन एंड इंदिरा सेन. It celebrates Raksha Sundari Devi, the first Indian woman autobiographer who secretly taught herself to read and write in the 19th century in Bengal. Explanation: the first is the voice of a tribute. Lakshmi Kannan honors Raksha Sundari courage and intellect. Second, no book or pen symbolizes resourcefulness, learning without a formal tools. Third, smudgy kitchen wall becomes her classroom and canvas for a self-learning. Fourth, magical scribble represent the awakening of self-expression and creativity. Fifth, secret act learning in secrecy define the patriarchal taboos against the female literacy. Sixth, symbol of liberation. Her literacy signifies freedom from ignorance and oppression. Seventh, inspiration. Rasha Sundari's story become a metaphor for empowerment and reform. Critical note: Lakshmi Kannan transform a humble domestic space into a symbol of resistance, redefining women education as an act of a spiritual freedom. And conclusion: these lines glorify self-taught knowledge and courage, and Rasha Sundari's magical scribble mark the dawn of a woman literacy and empowerment in इंडिया. सेकंड क्वेश्चन देखते हैं हम. एन्यूमरेट द सिमिलैरिटीज बिटवीन अ भक्ति एंड सूफी पोएट्री एंड गिविंग एग्जांपल्स फ्रॉम योर टेक्स्ट. चलिए सॉल्यूशन पर आते हैं अब हम. सिरसिर कुमार दास ऐसे द मैड लवर वर टू ऑफ द मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट स्पिरिचुअल एंड लिटरेरी रेवोल्यूशन इन द मेडिवल इंडिया, and through bhakti originated within Hinduism and Sufism within Islam, both focused on divine love, equality, and an inner experience over a ritual and a orthodoxy. Now आते हैं हम similarity between Bhakti and Sufi traditions पर. The first is central idea of divine love. Both see God as a beloved and the devotee as the lover, seeking union with the divine. Second, emphasis on inner experience, the stress on a direct personal experience of God, not on a ritual or external show. Third, rejection on ritualism and orthodoxy, criticize empty rituals, cast pride and priestly dominance and a rigid row. Fourth, use of a vernacular language, so composed in a local languages, Hindi, Punjabi, Bengali, Urdu, so common people can understand. Fifth, human love as a metaphor, use image of human lovers, bride, bridegroom, separation and union to express a spiritual longing. Sixth, music and singing as a devotion, bhajan, kirtans, bhakti and kavali. Sama Sufi use music and rhythm as a spiritual practice. Seventh, spirit of equality, assert equality of all before God, crossing barriers of caste, class, gender, and religion. Eighth, theme of Vira, separation, strong focus on pain of separation from God and the joy of union. Ninth, mystical and symbolic language, use symbols like wine, intoxication, fire, darkness, beloved beauties to suggest a mystical states. 10th, role in a social reform, both question social injustice and hypocrisy, making devotion a form of a critique of a society. Critical note, Sisir Kumar Das observed that Bhakti and Sufi poetry from a parallel streams of the same emotional current, enriching India's composite culture. Both reflect a synthesis of spirituality and humanism. Conclusion, the Bhakti and Sufi movement represent the heart of India's spiritual pluralism, and their poetry fuses devotion with emotion, equality with love, humanity with divinity, and making them timeless expression of India's unity in diversity. चलिए अब हम आते हैं अपने स्टूडेंट थर्ड क्वेश्चन के टुवर्ड्स। थर्ड क्वेश्चन में आपसे पूछा गया है एलिबरेट एंड एन के नाइक्स व्यू ऑन द रेलेवेंस ऑफ इंडियन इंग्लिश लिटरेचर। चलिए सॉल्यूशन देखते हैं हम। So Mr. N.K. Naik highlight the relevance and vitality of the Indian English literature as a major expression of Indian culture and thought. He argues that it is not an imitation of the English writing but a creative synthesis of Indian experience in an international medium. Indian English literature has grown into a distinctive branch reflecting India's historical, social, spiritual reality while connecting it to the wider world. Relevance, first, is a medium of national expression. Indian English literature expresses Indian life, culture, and experience through the English language, and it gives a literary voice that is rooted in its tradition but articulated in a global medium. Second is historical importance. It emerged during the colonial period, grew during the freedom struggle, and expanded after independence. Thus, it records India colonial experience, social change, and modern transformation. Third is distinct literacy identity. M.K. Naik states that the Indian English writing has developed his own identity just like a regional literature. It is not an imitation, it is a creative adaptation of a English to suit English themes and context. Fourth, Indian themes and English medium. The content is completely Indian village life, myths, spirituality, caste issue, poetry, nationalism, but expressed in English. This gives the literature a local soul in a global language. Fifth is Indianization of a English language. Indian writers modify English using a Indian idealism, cultural references, proverbs, and the rhymes, and the process of transformation English into an Indian literary tool instead of a colonial one. Sixth is contribution of the major writers. Authors like Raja Rao, R.K. Narayan, Mulk Raj Anand, and many other portray Indian reality with honesty. Their work highlight the depth and richness of Indian English literature. Seventh, reflection of social reality. Indian English texts deal with the colonial oppression, partition, caste inequality, women issue, and a modern urban life, and they mirror India's changing society and human struggles. Eighth, link language and wider reach. India acts as a bridge among the different linguistic groups in India, and connect the Indian literature to the global world, and this gives Indian issue internationally visibility and critical recognition. Ninth, academic and critical value. Indian critical literature is now an important part of academic study. It produces significant criticism theory and research that enrich India literary scholarship. 10th, interaction with the regional literatures. Indian English literature work alongside regional literatures, engaging in translation, influence, and shared themes, and this support the idea of one composite Indian literature. 11th, platform for modern experimentation. Indian English author adopts new forms, narrative techniques, symbolism, psychological realism, and stylistic innovation, and it keeps Indian literature modern and experimental. 12th, global recognition. The Indian English writer have received Booker prizes, Academy recognition, the world acclaim, and this global visibility proves the strength and maturity of Indian English literature. Critical note: Naik insists that the English Indian writing is a creative self expression, not cultural dependence, and it reflects India's ability to assimilate the foreign and transform it into own voice. Conclusion: M.K. Naik established that Indian English literature is a vital, independent, and representative literary tradition, and it articulates India's past, present, and future in a global language while retaining its native soul. चलिए स्टूडेंट्स, अब हम आते हैं अपने नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन की टूवर्ड्स। फोर्थ क्वेश्चन में आपसे पूछा गया है, इन द मोस्ट दलित पोइट्री द टोन एंड द लैंग्वेज इज डायरेक्ट, अनफिल्टर एंड हार्ड हिटिंग, डिस्कस। चलिए सॉल्यूशन पर आते हैं अब हम। सो दलित पोइट्री इज अ लिटरेचर ऑफ रेजिस्टेंस एंड ट्रुथ। इट एक्सप्रेस द पेन, oppression, and aspiration of marginalized in simple yet powerful language. The tone is raw, direct, and uncompromising, rejecting refined or rejecting refined or at least aesthetics. Dalit poet use their lived experience as their vocabulary, transforming suffering into protest and silence into speech. The first point is language of reality. Dalit poetry uses plain, colloquial language that mirrors the struggle of ordinary people. Second, unfiltered emotion. The tone reflects anger, sorrow, and protest without fear or pretension. Third, revolt against caste. The poem confronts untouchability, social humiliation, and inequality, exposing the India's caste system. Fourth, voice of the marginalized. Dalit poet give voice to those silenced by oppression, turning literature into a medium of empowerment. Fifth, everyday imagery. The poem employs symbol of labor and survival, mud, sweat, hunger, to portray real life struggles. Sixth, colloquial expression. They write in a regional dialect and oral rhymes, reflecting the authenticity and cultural identity. Seventh, tone of a deafness. The direct tone rejects sympathy, it demands justice and recognition, not pity. Eighth, influence of a bhakti tradition. Like bhakti saints, Dalit poet use devotion to challenge hierarchy and assert equality before God. Ninth, social protest and assertion. The poetry become a form of a social activism urging transformation of society. And 10th, self-respect and pride. Dalit poets celebrate dignity, courage, and community pride rather than a victimhood. 11th, breaking literary conventions. They discard ornate language and proving the truth needs no embellishment. 12th, example from the text. Chokomala Abhanga, the sugarcane may be cooked but its juice is not, assert that spiritual purity is not determined by a birth. Critical note: Dalit poetry, like Bhakti poetry, fuses with faith with rebellion. Its direct tone shatters the silence imposed by the caste society and reclaims dignity through language. Conclusion: Dalit poetry is honest, fearless, and revolutionary. Its hard hitting tone ensures that the voice of a protest echoes loudly, demanding equality and human dignity across the boundaries. चलिए नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखते हैं स्टूडेंट्स। फिफ्थ क्वेश्चन देखेंगे स्टूडेंट्स। व्हाट डज द रघुवीर सहाय हिंटेड बाय सेइंग दैट द क्वेश्चन ऑफ हिंदी इज नो लॉन्गर सिंपली अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ हिंदी। चलिए सॉल्यूशन देखते हैं अब हम। Raghuveer Sahai critically examined the debate surrounding Hindi and assert that it is not merely a linguistic issue but a social, political, and cultural one. By saying the question of Hindi is no longer simply a question of Hindi, he highlights how language has become deeply tied to power, politics, class, and identity. First is the language beyond grammar. Explanation देख रहे हैं स्टूडेंट्स हम। Sahai pointed out that Hindi debate is not about grammar or vocabulary. It involves the power structures and political motives that determine which form of Hindi gain acceptance. Second, language of state versus language of the people. A major concern is the growing difference between the official Hindi used in administration and the people's Hindi spoken in homes, street, and villages. Third, Hindi as a political instrument. After independence, Hindi was promoted as a national language to unite India, but the policy often ignored the linguistic diversity of the country. Fourth is regional resistance. The imposition of Hindi created discontent in the non Hindi speaking states, particularly in South India, where it was viewed as an attempt to cultural domination. Fifth point, multiplicity within Hindi. Hindi itself is not uniform. It includes multiple dialects like Avdhi, Mithali, Braj, Bhojpuri, and each with a distinct traditions, and ignoring these erases the cultural richness. Sixth, class and access. Sahai argues that elite or a bureaucratic Hindi, elite or common people, language become a tool of exclusion where access to education and jobs depend on standard or Hindi or English. Seventh is English paradox. While Hindi struggle for recognition, English dominates administration and education, creating a linguistic hierarchy that widens the social gap. Eighth, cultural identity and power. Language is identity. When one language is privileged, other lose representation. This makes the Hindi question a question of equality and justice. Ninth, democratic responsibility. True linguistic democracy should recognize all regional languages equally and encourage multilingual harmony, not a one language supremacy. 10th, Hindi's role in a plural nation. Sahai emphasizes that Hindi must grow by absorbing other languages, not by erasing them. A living language thrives on the inclusion. 11. Cultural pluralism. Hindi to remain relevant must represent the voice of India's diverse people, reflecting their idealism, struggle, and aspirations. And last 12th point, unity in diversity. Sahai's statement ultimately warns that ignoring this diversity will threaten India's unity itself, and since language carries the emotional foundation of identity. Critical note: Sahai's argument complements Sujit Mukherjee's ideas in a propositions that Indian literature is one entirely compromising many languages, and both highlight that linguistic diversity must coexist within a shared culture vision. Conclusion: by saying the question of Hindi is no longer simply a question of Hindi, Raghuveer Sahai exposed the interplay of language, power, and politics in post independence India, and his statement reminds us that Hindi's growth depends on a plurality, inclusion, and equality among the all Indian languages and the true spirit of India's culture, democracy. चलिए स्टूडेंट, अब हम आते हैं अपने सिक्स क्वेश्चन पर। व्हाट डू यू अंडरस्टैंड बाय oral tradition? How is it linked to the issue of identity of the people of the Northeast? तो फर्स्ट हम डेफिनेशन पर आते हैं स्टूडेंट। The term oral tradition refers to the transmission of knowledge, stories, myths, ritual, and history through speech and performance rather than a writing, and it is the living voice of a community in the northeast of India, home to a numerous ethnic groups and languages. Oral traditions preserve collective memory, cultural continuity, and identity. For these communities, whose history were often excluded from our written records. Oral tradition is not merely a art, it is their history, identity, and heritage. सेकेंड पार्ट पर आते स्टूडेंट इसके हाउ ओरल ट्रेडिशन इज लिंक टू द आइडेंटिटी ऑफ द पीपल ऑफ नॉर्थ ईस्ट. फर्स्ट पॉइंट, oral tradition preserve ancestral memory. It keep alive the origin myths, migratory histories, clan lineage, and heroic tales of each tribe. And these stories tell people where they came from and helping them define their collective identity. Second, it protects local languages and dialects. Most tribes in the Northeast speak minor languages that do not have a written script, and oral tradition is the only method through which these languages survive. Third, it transmits our cultural values and custom. So through songs and myths, communities learn their rituals, festival, marriage custom, taboos, and moral codes. Fourth, it preserves community union. Oral tradition brings people together through the festive dance, storytelling evening, and ritual performances. So shared performance, that is shared identity. Fifth, it acts as a historical record in absence of a written text. The most northeastern tribes historically did not keep written documentation, so thus oral stories serve as a historical archives and giving communities a clear sense of their past and belongingness. Sixth is it resists culture erasure. The oral tradition protects the identity of tribes from being absorbed into a mainstream narratives, and by preserving the local stories and cultural memory, the community resists dominant culture that may overshadow them. 7 point, it connects people to their land and environment. Tribal identity is closely tied to forests, rivers, mountains, and animals, and their oral stories explain their spiritual connection to nature, an important marker of identity. Eighth point, it provides a sense of a pride and distinctiveness. The oral literature give each tribe its unique culture signature, strengthening pride in their tradition and differentiating them from other groups. Ninth, it helps new generation claim their identity. Children learn their identity through oral tradition, who we are, which clan do we belong to, what is our story, and the identity is inherited and reaffirmed through our oral storytelling. 10th, modern recording strengthens identity. Documentation of oral traditions in books, archives, and media give these communities national visibility and protects their identity from being lost. Critical note, the Northeast oral traditions parallel Sujit Mukherjee's view of Indians' literary plurality. Just as Indians' written texts interact across the languages, these oral narratives maintain a network of living, shared culture that keep diversity vibrant. At last, your conclusion. Oral tradition in the Northeast is the heartbeat of identity, a living culture achieves that sustain memory, belief, and belonging. Protecting these oral heritage means preserving the soul of India's pluralism, where every voice, written or unwritten, contribute to the story of the nation. चलिए स्टूडेंट, अब हम बढ़ते हैं अपने नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन के टूवर्ड्स योर क्वेश्चन नंबर 7. वाई इज चंद्रभट्टी रामायण रेफर टू एज अ साइलेंस टेक्स्ट. चलिए सॉल्यूशन पर आते हैं अब हम. तो चंद्रभट्टी रामायणा इज अ 16th century Bengali retelling of a Ramayana by Chandra Bhatti, one of the India's earliest known women poet. She retells the epic entirely from a Sita's point of view, transforming it into a deeply emotional narrative of a female experience. However, due to a patriarchal neglect, editorial distortion, and exclusion from a mainstream canons, it come to be known as a silence text. Chandrabhatti, voiced through powerful, was a marginalized by tradition that privileged a male interpretation. So why Chandrabhatti Ramayana referred as a silent text? The first point is a woman's retelling. Chandrabhatti work is revolutionary as the first Ramayana by a woman, placing Sita, not Rama, at the center. Second, Sita's perspective. The poem begins with the Sita miraculous birth and ends with the tragic return to the earth, making her emotional journey the narrative focus. Third is patriarchal suppression. So male editor dismiss it as an incomplete or a folk, refusing to accept a female interpretation of a scared epic. Fourth, editorial manipulations. Later versions altered verses and tones and muting the Chandrabat feminist voice and turning her protest into a pity. Fifth, challenges to a heroic ideals. Unlike a traditional Ramayana, it rejects war, power, and politics, emphasizes ethical endurance and emotional truth. Sixth, woman centered audience. The poem begins with Listen, my dear girlfriends, establishing a female community to listener, rare in early literature. Seventh, Sita as a symbol of resistance. Through Sita's suffering, Chandrabhati questions the patriarchal authority and a moral hypocrisy. Eighth, rejection by a canonical critics. The male dominating canon ignored her work for centuries and branding it non literary due to emotional and domestic focus. Ninth, deviation from the divine order. Her portrayal of Rama's cruelty disturbed the traditional readers, leading to the further exclusion of her version. 10th, rediscovery in the modern times. Feminist scholar later recognized it as a pioneering text of a woman protest, restoring Chandrabhati rightful place in the history. 11th, voice of the marginalized. Her narrative turns Sita's pain into a collective female experience, giving women's voice in a male-dominated mythic world. And last point, why silence? It was silence because patriarchal institution erased her authorship, altered her text, and ignored her vision. Critical note: the Chandrabhati Ramayana illustrate how literary canon silence alternative voices and its rediscovery reclaims a lost heritage of women's creativity, aligning with the course of theme of plurality and inclusion in Indian literature. Conclusion: the text is called a silence text because it exposed how women's voices were suppressed in the literary history. Chandrabhati reinterpretation transformed Sita from a passive sufferer from a symbol of female resilience, making her Ramayana a living protest against a patriarchal erasure. अब हम आते हैं अपने स्टूडेंट लास्ट क्वेश्चन पर, दैट इज योर क्वेश्चन नंबर 8. What do you understand by the diversity of literature in the context of Indian literature? चलिए स्टूडेंट सॉल्यूशन पर आते हैं अब हम. Sujit Mukherjee essay Prepositions present the concept of India's literary richness in a unity of multiple languages, culture, and tradition. The phrase diversity of literature refers to the coexistence of different languages, oral traditions, religious, and artistic form that collectively constitute Indian literature. This diversity is not division, it is a hallmark of India culture, pluralism, and a creative यूनिटी. की फीचर्स पर आते हैं स्टूडेंट्स. फर्स्ट इज मल्टीलिंगुअल फ्रेमवर्क. इंडियन लिटरेचर इज रिटन इन अ डजन ऑफ लैंग्वेजेस and dialects, each with the independent yet interlinked histories. Second, interplay of oral and written. The oral storytelling tradition, folk dance, legends, and epics continue to shape a written literature even today. Third, religious and philosophical variety. Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Islamist, Christian influence coexist, enriching India thematic and moral diversity. Fourth, shared themes across the languages. Common idea like devotion, morality, justice, and love unify diverse regional literatures. Fifth, cultural cross influence. Indian languages constantly borrow from one another. Sanskrit, Persian, and English have influenced almost every regional language. Six, Bhakti and Sufi movement. These devotional movements united people through a poetry of love and equality, creating harmony across religious and regions. Seventh, traveling literary forms. Genres like novel, ghazals, and drama migrated across languages, showing the mobility of ideas. 8. Regional uniqueness. Every region contribute distinct setting and imagery and dialects, yet remain part of a national literary whole. Ninth, temporal continuity. Ancient and medieval and modern forms overlap, creating historical layers of continuity and innovation. 10th, influence of a modernity. Western education and English introduce new literary technique and critical perspective, expanding the literary landscape. 11th, comparative literary history. Sujit Mukherjee suggests that Indian literature must be studied as an interconnected tradition, not isolated silos. And 12th, unity in plurality. Despite the differences, there is an underlying Indian ethos of harmony where diversity is celebrated as a strength. Critical note: Mukherjee compares Indian literature to Indian music, where varied instruments create one symphony. This metaphor shows that diversity is not chaos but a creative synchronization. And conclusion: the diversity of Indian literature reflects the country's civilizational depth and inclusiveness, and it proves that India's unity is sustained by linguistic and cultural plurality, making it literature a living expression of coexistence and dialogue among a differences. तो ये था स्टूडेंट आपका BGC 132 का सॉल्व पेपर। तो स्टूडेंट ये था आपका BGC 132 का सॉल्व पेपर। आपके एग्जाम्स आने ही वाले हैं, तो आपको लास्ट 5 ईयर के सॉल्व पेपर लेना बिल्कुल नहीं भूलना, और उसके लिए आपको हमारी टीम को कांटेक्ट करना है, उन्नति एजुकेशंस को। आप हमारे स्क्रीन पे दिए हुए नंबर पे कांटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, या आप हमारी वेबसाइट उन्नति education/ignu के ऊपर विजिट कर सकते हैं। प्रीवियस ईयर के क्वेश्चन पेपर, गेस्ट पेपर, नोट्स सब कुछ मिलेंगे। सो स्टूडेंट्स, हमारे चैनल को लाइक और सब्सक्राइब करना बिल्कुल मत भूलना, और बेल आइकन को प्रेस करना बिल्कुल मत भूलना, ताकि आपकी कोई भी इंपॉर्टेंट नोटिफिकेशन जो है वो मिस ना हो। थैंक यू।